Hello everyone, welcome to part 1 of the academic research series. So, in the very first part of this series, I'm going to talk about determining your research interest because this is the first thing you will need to do if you want to get started with research. So, let's dive deep into it. The first thing you need to do is to list out all the ongoing domains of research in your own field. For example, if you are in artificial intelligence field, so your coursework is mainly based on AI, then there are several domains in AI. For example, deep learning theory, computer vision, natural language processing, reinforcement learning. Then there is machine learning security and stuff. Maybe you are not in AI domain or AI field, I should say. You are in the bioinformatics field and most of your courseworks are based on bioinformatics. In that case, there is genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and so on and so forth. So you can be of any field. Your coursework or your degree can be based on any field. And in that field, most likely there will be multiple domains of research. So you need to find them out. Now, one thing I want to also mention is that there is this thing called topic. So, for example, large language models is a kind of topic. It's not a domain. This topic falls under the domain of NLP or natural language processing. It is important to distinguish between the two because if you want to do good research on any topic, you need to have some good idea about the domain itself. So if you want to work on large language models, you need to be able to have a good command and a good knowledge about natural language processing domain as a whole so that you can do good innovations and other things. Next thing is to not follow the hype. There will always be some hype around some topic, so you shouldn't follow that. You should rather follow your interest after assessing feasibility. So let me explain what I mean by that. So the first thing is the current hype is machine learning. So everyone is trying to do machine learning research and failing miserably. I have seen countless people who have tried to do research in machine learning and they haven't actually done any research at all. They have implemented some models, some random models using some library, and they have submitted the project, maybe submitted the paper in some journals or conferences which nobody cares about. And ultimately, they haven't really followed a research career. They have gone to some other career, or maybe they have become a developer, which is cool. I mean, I don't have anything against developers, by the way, but it's just not a research career, basically. If you want to go through a research career, then you shouldn't be blindly following the hype. So one thing you can do is you can see your coursework and the relevant projects that you did as part of the coursework, and then you sort of try to find out where you actually felt the most amount of connection. That is where you want to get started with. And also, I mean, a domain can have a lot of hypes, but as I said before, it is mainly for the developers. So the developers of the domain actually get to enjoy the hype train. But as a researcher, as a wannabe researcher, I should say, because you're just getting started, I assume. So you have to deal with the theory experiments and innovations, which is not really part of the enjoyment and the hype train. Also, you won't be able to use what's out there at face value, like a developer can do. You have to do your own thing. And your work as a researcher is to mainly push boundaries of the field and not to play around with cool tools. That is the number one thing you need to actually keep in mind before you, like, quote unquote, understand what I've written here in English text. So finally, you assess whether you're ready to do things if you choose to enter into the research domain of a hyped up field. So, I mean, it's okay to enter into a hyped up field, but you have to sort of understand and get a feeling that you are capable of doing things there and you are capable of pushing boundaries in that field and you are actually interested, right? That's the thing. Now suppose you have found some domains in which you are interested in, but there are a few more things you need to consider. For example, how feasible it is to pursue a particular research domain. So let me explain what I mean by this. For example, certain research works require specialized lab equipment. Do you actually have access to such lab? Or maybe it requires a lot of computing power. For example, if you want to retrain large language models, or if you want to maybe make your own large language model or things like that, you need a lot of computing power. So as for specialized lab equipment, if you are working with genomics data, if you require sequencing some genome, some humans, you need to have access to sequencing wet labs. Do you have access to that? That's the main question. And finally, some research works are there. For example, a domain such as trustworthy machine learning or machine learning security requires a lot of strong math background. So do you actually have that? If you don't have a strong math background and you are not a math enthusiast, probably you shouldn't actually go into those kind of field. So let's move on to the next part, which is after you have actually thought of maybe one or two domains in which you are interested in, you should take some time in building a strong knowledge base on your chosen domain. Now, I think this is the biggest mistake I've seen young researchers make. What they do is they're interested in something, they just start working on that, and they don't have a solid knowledge base. So it gives them a lot of trouble because whenever they are reading some research papers or something, they find a lot of things which they know nothing about and they have to go back and forth, which is a very painful process. So I would recommend taking 6 to 7 months in building a strong knowledge base on your chosen domain if you already haven't done so. For example, if you have chosen natural language processing or NLP as your domain, then you should do a course on machine learning basics, learn about traditional NLP algorithms. Then we need to go through deep learning basics, time series modeling, word representation learning, attention mechanism and transformer basics. And currently we have a lot of hype around large language model basics. So you need to go through that. So it's like 3 to 4 courses. I mean, we are talking about 3 to 4 courses here, which you should be able to finish in 6 to 7 months if you're diligent enough. But I mean, you need to finish them. That's the thing. I mean, if you don't finish them, then you're probably not going to have a strong enough background to start with, even. That's the thing. Another example can be genomics. So in genomics, you need to know the basics of genome biology. There are courses around this. Then you need to know the basics of genome sequencing and alignment, or else you will not really understand what kind of data you are even dealing with. Then you need to know about the genes, gene expressions, and mutations, which are very common research topics now. Then any research on genomics is based on genomic data processing and data visualization. So in research papers related to genomics, you are going to see a lot of visualization. So you need to know about those tools and those kind of plottings. And finally, in order to get the information out from the big genomics data, you need to have core basics on data science. Now, I have done research on these two domains before, so I sort of know what things to actually go through to develop your basics. But if you are doing something which is outside of these two domains, which most likely you are going to do, you need to talk to someone who actually already went through these things, right? Maybe 4 to 5 years into this kind of research. And I'm pretty sure that they will be glad to make this kind of flowchart for you so that you can nicely like transition into that domain. So that's all about this video. So in part 2, we are going to talk about how exactly you are going to choose a professor for you and how you want to build a relationship with him so that you learn a lot of things from this experienced guy. There's a link in the description for donation. You can make some donations for our channel so that we can keep making more videos like this. And so see you in the next video. The link for the next video is in the description. Thank you.